What's up, dialysis disciples? So, I'm going to talk about something real tonight. I always talk about real stuff, but, excuse me. How many of you ever thought that fasting, all right, let's get this. How many of you ever thought that fasting wasn't for you? Like, maybe you said, that's for normal people, people who don't deal with all this medical stuff, like dialysis and stuff, right? Or maybe you thought, like, between the treatments and the meds and all the ups and downs of this dialysis life, this dialysis journey, there's no way you can fast, right? If that's ever crossed your mind, I want you to lean in tonight because this message is something that might see change how you see fasting forever, right? Now, most of us dialysis patients deal with energy loss and fatigue. We have a lot of stress, and the problems and issues with this journey go on and on. But most of us, we lack energy, and fatigue beats us upside the head. And we've never connected the fact that fasting could help us with that, right? Now, I promise you, I'm not preaching at you or judging you tonight, right? My goal is simple. It's to help you understand what Jesus meant when he said, when ye fast, right? He didn't say if you fast, right? And I want to give a shout out and credit to Pastor Philip Anthony, what's his name? Philip Anthony Mitchell, right? Because he talked about something like this, which sparked this live. Also, want to give a shout out to one of our dialysis disciples. Her name is Vanessa. If you're watching, what's up, Vanessa? But she inquired about fasting. Had another young brother by the name of Michael, another dialysis disciple, right? He hit me up about fasting, right? Another brother on YouTube asked me about fasting. So you know what? I'm like, Father, I hear it's clear, right? I'm not going to pound something on you that you guys don't want to hear about. You're clearly asking me about fasting, right? And that definitely fits because God prompted me to write this book, A Gifted Tome, the 40-day spiritual fast for dialysis patients. But we'll get into that later, right? So, but if you can grasp this, right, what we're going to talk about tonight, yeah, you're going to discover one of the most powerful ways to hear God's voice, and gain energy through it, right? Even in dialysis chair, right? By the end of this live, you'll understand how fasting gives you energy and doesn't decrease it, like you would think. Why fasting is a command from the Father, not a suggestion, right? You're going to learn why fasting isn't about starving your body as much as it's about feeding your spirit, right? And you're going to learn how you can fast wisely as a dialysis warrior, right? And actually feel closer to God and not further from him and feel weaker because of it and get energy from it. Y'all ready? If you're ready, give some yeses in the chat. You're ready to dive in. All right. So, when you fast, that's what it says in Matthew 6, right? I'm not going to just give you the verse because it's important that you read the whole chapter. It's Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, and he basically tells you all of his values and everything that he finds dear and important and how to live this life, right? So, as we've talked about before in Matthew 6, he says, when ye fast, right, be not as hypocrites. And what he's saying is, he said, if you read the whole verse, he goes on to say, like, a lot of people when they fast, they just fast and they walk around all slow and their face all turned down because they want people to say, what's wrong? Oh, I'm fasting, right? That's doing it for outward reasons, right? But the verse also goes on to say that when ye fast, do it in secret, right? Wash your face, walk out strong, right? And don't appear to the world as you're fasting, because the Father who sees you in private I'm sorry, I'm getting fired up like I always do, will reward you openly, right? So read that word, right? But again, he says when you fast, not if, not maybe, not when you feel up to it, not except if you're on dialysis, right? Come on now. When means it's expected. It's part of our walk, right? Um, but here's what most dialysis patients who are believers miss. They think fasting is all about food, right? But what it's really about is focus, right? Dialysis makes your body feel like dialysis. It's loud in the spirit. Y'all tracking, right? The alarms going off, the beeping of the machines, the pain, the stick, the exhaustion, right? The pressure from every direction if you're running a family household. I know a young lady I've been talking to, she got a lot going on. Like she's a caregiver and she's on dialysis and she has autistic son, right? So guys, you're not the only one out there battling. There's so many other warriors out there battling with so many things, right? But what we don't realize is how fasting will quiet all that, right? It's not something that you can that it's extra that you add on your plate. It's not, oh, now I'm doing all, now I gotta add fasting to it. No, that's the wrong perspective. And as you know, that's what Slick. If you don't know who Slick is, go to last live. It's what he tries to get you to think, right? And it's not because like fasting helps quiet all that, right? And not because you're starving your body, it's because you're silencing the outer world, right? So me, I used to think fasting wasn't for me. Not because I was afraid or I wanted to be disobedient, but I didn't understand the benefits, right? But one day Holy Spirit made it clear. He said fasting isn't about what you're giving up, it's about what you gain. Who's tracking? Who's tracking, right? So when I started fasting from distractions, from like noise and even conversations that drained me and input that didn't lift me up, right? I started hearing them clearly again, right? And we're going to get back later in the live. We're going to talk about the how he opened up my mind to all of this, right? So one of the things that helped me do is stop asking why me, God, right? And I started hearing his next assignment. And here's the benefit that I really want you dialysis warriors to hear, and probably why you're here tonight, is I started getting energized, right? And as we learned in other lives, energy has two meanings. Is there physical energy, like the ability to run far and do all that type of stuff and lift, but there's also the energy, the frequency you put out, like your energy. Like I'm talking to you tonight from high energy. I'm not talking to you like this. Hey, dialysis patients, I hope you learn how to fast. Please fast. No, this is energy. And I have this energy because I'm walking in the assignment. I'm actually on day 38 of the fast. And when you fast, all things start coming in alignment. And I'm going to show you how that works too. It's so crazy how God works, right? Today is day 38. Day 38 of my first fast, right, is when I got the revelation to help you, my assignment to help you from a fast, which in turn gave me all of this energy, right? And right now, I'm so fired up and I'm so full of energy, right? Because I'm walking in my purpose and I'm walking in an assignment and I'm doing what he called me to do. Y'all tracking, right? So let's get into this a little bit, right? When you understand that fasting isn't all just about food and it's really about focus, right? So let's talk about what happens when your focus comes to life, right? Because when you remove certain distractions and you shift your attention towards God, something powerful begins to happen inside you. And as I mentioned, you start feeling energy again, right? Not just in your body, but in your spirit also. And this is your body, this is your spirit, right? And then when they come aligned, it's like bing. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you guys, right? Because when that happens, boom, now your energy boosts because you're in alignment. Your body and your spirit are in alignment and you're moving in the way that God designed you to move, right? So how many of you ever said, I'm just so tired all the time, right? Or maybe you thought, like, this has to be my body breaking down, right? We assume our fatigue is all physical, that dialysis is draining us. But let me tell you something most people never realize. Sometimes the physical fatigue is really from spiritual misalignment, right? We just talked about that. When your spirit is off balance, your body feels it. How many of us are tracking? How many of us starting to understand where I'm coming from with all of this, right? When your spirit is off balance, your body feels it and your purpose is blurry, right? And then your energy follows. Oh, y'all seeing how this all connects? Fasting, it realigns you. It clears the spiritual fog. It reconnects you to God's strength. It's God's energy and God's frequency. And that's where all your new energy comes from. Y'all feeling me? Right? See, fasting doesn't drain energy. It releases it. Like, because your spirit is in tune with God, your body responds. Come on, guys. Let me get some fires in the chat. Y'all quiet. This making sense? Right? So when you fast, you're letting go of all the things that blocks your flow, right? The distractions, the doubt, the guilt, and letting God fill you with purpose and peace instead, right? And when your spirit is filled, your body will start to follow. So if you've been blaming dialysis for all your fatigue and tiredness, yeah, it drains us a little bit, right? But that's not the main cause, guys. I promise you, right? Maybe tonight you'll realize your spirit's just been hungry, right? And you can feed it through fasting. Y'all ready? Let's keep going. All right. Let me get some ones in the chat. All right. So when we fast for alignment and energy, right? What we're really doing is clearing a space for God's voice to be heard again, right? Once you begin to feel energy rise, right? The next question is, all right, what's he saying? What I'm going to do with all this energy? How do we know the next step or instruction he has for us, right? So that leads us to the next thing we're going to talk about. Fasting for clarity and assignment, right? How many of you ever felt like you can't hear God the way you used to, right? Like you're on dialysis, you're walking this journey, you're tired, and the last thing you want to do is go somewhere and pray or sit in a church, open a Bible, right? But that's the enemy telling you that that's what you don't want to do because he knows that's the thing that's going to help you, right? Whoever sat in that dialysis chair and like God, I need to hear from you. Like I feel lost and alone, right? And then all you hear is silence, nothing, crickets, right? So the silence doesn't mean he's not there, right? It means there's too much noise between you and his voice, right? Fasting will clear that channel. It'll eliminate all that crap. So I always say when I sit down with people, I teach them that like dialysis is a mini fast. Because think about it. When we fast, we rid our body from toxins and all that negative emotion and all that stuff. When we go to dialysis machine, the toxins are removed from our blood, right? So the dialysis is like a mini fast all in itself. You see that, right? You ever notice how when you get out of dialysis, your flesh is really bubbling up, like maybe you want to eat bad food, or whatever your vice is, whatever bondage the enemy has on you, it's pronounced. If you're an alcoholic, you want to drink more, right? If you're promiscuous, you want to call somebody. I'll say it like that, right? For me, it was, I like to smoke a lot of marijuana, so I would get off the machine and I'd have a blunt rolled up, right? So the dialysis treatment is just a microcosm of what a fast does. Y'all tracking? Right. So that's the power of this book, A Gifted Tome, The 40-Day Spiritual Fast for Dialysis Patients, right? And, because when we fast, we tune our hearts back to its frequency. That frequency is the connection to getting your energy back. I'm hoping I'm connecting the dots for some of y'all, right? Some of you I appreciate everyone that came, whether you're watching on Team Live or Team Replay. Matter of fact, give me a Team Live and Team Replay in the chat. Forgot to do that in the beginning, right? But, so, this is what I'm going to do. Y'all gotta forgive me, guys. Like I really get excited talking about this stuff. So let's slow down a little bit. But when you fast, right, that gives you your energy back because you now you have a reason for being, right? So it's like so like if you buy a sports car, right, and you use it as a taxi, it'll break down faster because it wants to go 200 miles an hour, right? That's what your body is. Like Myron Golden, one of the guys I listen to on YouTube, I suggest you listen to him. He's good, right? He made the analogy that imagine if you buy I don't know, a Corvette sunroof and you plant it in your garage and you pour a whole bunch of dirt in it and you plant a bush. Like that Corvette is not living its purpose, right? So it's going to deteriorate, right? If you ask the Corvette, he's going to be like, man, I ain't got no energy and I'm fatigued. My life, blah, 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 because he's not living his purpose. And that's what you guys are doing with dialysis, right? Some of you are letting that dialysis machine make you think you're a sports car being a potted plant. I know this is some crazy analogies, guys. I hope y'all working with me on this one, right? All right, so let me get back on track. We're down that rabbit hole. I'm back, right? When you fast, three things happen, right? Firstly, God reveals your assignment if you don't know it, right? I promise you, when you do this fast, right? Links in the bio, links in the comments. At the end of it, you'll know your purpose. You'll know your next assignment, right? If you already have your assignment, right, and you're already walking in your purpose, right? If you fast, it'll give you your next instruction, right? And then once that happens, energy explodes. You can't contain yourself. You'll be like me talking to a camera, whether there's people here or not, because it's your purpose, right? And you'll have all this energy and you won't know to do it yourself, right? Because that's what happens, right? So that's what you have to do. So right now, because I'm walking my purpose, right? And it's so crazy how this works because today is day 38, right? And as I told you before, day 38 was where he revealed my purpose was to walk and help dialysis patients. And day 38 says, the verse for day 38 is Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work to the good to those who love God and are the called according to his purpose, right? Day 38. I'm talking to you about fasting on day 38 of my fast, right? Right? And look what I have here. Now I'm gonna save that for later. I'll save that for later for you guys. You stick around. You're gonna see what this says, and it's gonna all come together, and you'll see how God works, right? But now that I'm working in my purpose, I go to dialysis. I look forward to going to dialysis. Yes, I look forward to going to dialysis, right? Because I know when I sit down for that 4 hours, I'm gonna be doing all the work that He called me to do, working on content for you guys, working on live trainings for you guys, working on master classes for you guys, working on ebooks for you guys, lives, etc., all for you guys, right? Because He's called me to help you. I'm in the DMs talking to all these dialysis warriors, helping them, praying for them, giving them plans, right? Getting on calls, right? Walking them through our 13-week program, right? So check it out. Like Jesus modeled this for us. Remember, He fasted 40 days before He started His mission. Think about it, right? He wasn't doing it to prove something. He was doing it to prepare, right? He came out of that fast ready to face the enemy with clarity and scripture and power, because that's what happened after 40 days. Read the story, right? Read the story. The devil, Slick, I don't like to give him no props. Slick came after him. I'm not going to break that all down. If you want to read that, right? But he did a 40-day fast, and the enemy tempted him. And he busted scripture at him because he had fasted and he was prepared and he didn't have all the worldly crap in him, right? So let's make this clear. Fasting isn't something optional for believers because clarity isn't optional for dialysis warriors. You can't stay in that dialysis fog. You can't stay in that dialysis drift, right? Dialysis itself is enough of a battle, right? Why walk through it without direction, without any energy, right? Fasting is how you stop guessing and start hearing. I hope I'm making myself clear for you guys. Put some fires in the chat if this is getting through to you, right? Right. So now that you know how fasting brings clarity, it brings direction and renewed strength and energy, then the question becomes, well, how do I actually do this safely and wisely as a dialysis warrior, right? I can't just fast because, I got to eat. I need carbs. I need electrolytes. And I know, right? And, excuse me, while this fast in this book does contain some food fast, so I would definitely recommend you speak to your doctor, right? It's not harsh. It's not no food, no drink, no water. You know, it's something that dialysis patients can do, and it concentrates more on the spiritual fast portion, not the bodily fast, right? If that's something you've done before, get some ones in the chat. If you haven't done it, I suggest you do it. That's why we're here tonight. We're talking about the benefits of it, right? And I mainly want you to know that dialysis warriors, if you're fatigued and tired all the time, this is how you do it, right? And it may sound counterintuitive, but like, I'm here. I'm living proof. I'm here. I wouldn't be here talking to you if I didn't do the fast and hear God's voice. Who's tracking, right? So now let's make this practical, right? Let's talk about actual steps you can take, and that's why you're here, right? So, how many of you ever thought that fasting automatically meant no food? Yep, I did, right? That's not what this is about. That's the part you got to click. Every day, every live, we do one of these things, right? For dialysis warriors, fasting looks different, and that's okay. Because it's not about the plate, it's about the posture of your heart, right? A gifted tome is how you fast wisely, right? In it, we fast from social media, right? We fast from entertainment. We fast from negative self-talk. We fast from complaining, right? We replace it with scripture and prayer. We fast from fear and replace it with faith, right? That's what your body needs. That's why you're tired all the time, guys. Right? A gifted tome is the activation device and system used in Hospitaletics dialysis coaching program. Right? When you sit down with me, that's one of the things we do, and I help walk you through. We also offer a fast companion intensive, meaning when you buy the book, you'll be prompted and asked if you want to have a fast companion. That's when I'll walk with you, right? And help you gain the clarity you need to learn your purpose, right? So even if you do choose to fast from food, right, always check with your medical care team, right? And remember, God honors your heart posture, not your method. If you come and you say, God, I'm fasting, I'm going to this book, I'm praying, and you activate the fast, he knows what's going on. He knows that you're surrendering to him, right? And he knows your heart posture, right? You can fast and still be within your health plan, right? The key is the intentionality from removing something that steals your focus from him, right? So God can fill that space. I know y'all tracking, right? So this is what I want to show y'all. Thanks for hanging around. So this young lady, I gave her a book, right? The spirit, she's at my dialysis unit. The spirit came over me and he's like, give her a book, right? After I gave her the book, she gave me this. She says, the world and I thank you. I thank you. No, I'm sorry. I thank the Most High for allowing me to meet you. Being a dialysis patient has many challenges. You have shown me how determination, strength, and resilience can be achieved. I feel blessed to have received such profound information in your book, A Gifted Tome. May God continue to bless you and your family beyond measure. Respectfully, Jasmine J. Right? So that's what they call in the business social proof. Social proof. Right? So this is the kind of transformation I've seen over and over, right? Not from another medication or another supplement, but from spiritual alignment. Right? All right. So let's tie this all in. You know, I like to always tie it in with a biblical verse. We already talked about Jesus in the wilderness, right? Before Jesus ever healed a person or preached a message, he fasted. He went into the wilderness, hungry, alone, and then was tempted, but came out with power and direction and energy for his mission, right? That 40-day fast wasn't a pause, it was a preparation, right? Dialysis may feel like your wilderness right now. Come on, put it together, right? But listen, it's not punishment. It's not punishment, guys. Your dialysis journey is not punishment. It's preparation, right? Just like Jesus, right? This is where your next assignment is revealed, right? Imagine if Jesus was in the wilderness, right? And he was eating cheeseburgers and moping around. No, he was listening to the Father, right? So this is how your power is built in private before it's shown in public. Just like the verse says, when ye fast, do not fast as the hypocrites do, right? It says, put some water on your face, walk around strong, and pray to your Father in secret, who will reward you openly, right? It's all a system, guys. And that's what hospitaletics dialysis coaching is. It's a divine healing system that he gave me through fasting. Hope this is all making sense and coming together for you guys. I don't know what else I can do, right? So listen, if you feel weak in your body, right, God is using that time to strengthen your spirit, right? And when you step out of that chair or unplug that catheter or whatever you do, right, you'll walk in greater peace and purpose, right? And you have more clarity than you ever had before when you do this fast, right? Because fasting unlocks the ability to hear God again and to move with energy that only comes from his presence and his purpose, right? Guys, I hope this made a lot of sense to you guys. I hope this made a lot of sense to you, right? If this spoke to you tonight, if anything clicked in you tonight, right? You know, if you're suffering or crushed from debilitating fatigue and lack of energy, like so many of us and so many people do, the mental stress and all the things that, you know, we dialysis warriors suffer with, right? You can erase all that by hearing the voice of God again, right? And learning how to fast wisely in your life and health, that will get you there. If this is something that resonates with you and you want to learn more and you want someone to help walk you through this journey, whether it just be fasting, dietary advice, mental help, prayer, anything along this journey, right, that you want help with, type coach in the DMs or DM me coach, right? This is what God has called me to do, right? What I do in this space is the gold standard of anything else, right? If this is what you're suffering with, reach out, DM coach, or put coach in the comments. Don't sit there in suffering and silence. The enemy wants you isolated. Just type coach. It costs you nothing, right? Type coach in the DM. We'll have a conversation. Costs you nothing. It's just a leap of faith. It's just to kick the enemy in the teeth and said, I'm not going to be stuck like this anymore. This man is offering to help me. This man has been called to help me. I'm going to take him up on it, right? Coach in the DM, right? This is why I'm here, guys. I'll reach out to you personally. We'll have a conversation. I'll see where you're at. What's been blocking your clarity, right? You know, how strong is the dialysis fog? How can we open it up and break it up through fasting or through anything, right? Anything that God calls me to tell you, right? You know, and if I can help you, I know I can. I'll show you exactly what that looks like, and we'll go from there, right? Right. But you don't need to keep walking through the wilderness without hearing God, what's God trying to tell you. You in the wilderness, you might as well take advantage of it, right? This dialysis journey is not your whole life, guys, right? And if it is your whole life, then then God has an assignment for you in it, right? If he didn't have something for you to be, you wouldn't be here, right? You still here. That's evidence that he has something for you to do. And the fact that he's dragging you through the wilderness, yeah, I use the word dragging you through the wilderness, that means he's attempting to wake you up and listen to him. Let's go on the fast together, guys. Let's work together. Let's put your life back together. Get you the energy you desire, right? Comment coach, DM me coach, right? If you're ready to turn the world down, regain your energy, and hear God clearly again, right? Right there where you are. All right. So I appreciate you guys being here tonight. I appreciate you spending some time with me. I hope I opened up some eyes here. And if you got value tonight, put value in the chat, right? So I know that someone was blessed, right? But yeah, I'll see y'all next week, right? Gonna be doing a master class. Let's look out for that, right? It's gonna be a whole event, right? 2-3 hours. We're just gonna go in, right? So I know who the real dialysis disciples are, who the real warriors are, who's really trying to change their world and hear their assignment. When y'all start registering for that. So appreciate you guys. Stay strong, dialysis disciples. See you next time.